Hello, Journey family. This is Brett Vaden here, and just want to share with you the first of a few videos on identity, specifically gospel identity. And in this one, I want to talk about the identity of being a child of God. So first, let's break down what identity is. Identity is a really word that means the characteristics that tell us who or what we are. It's the beliefs, values, behaviors that we end up living out of that characterize or show who we are. And but at the root of those beliefs and characteristics and behaviors is a name that we take on ourselves, really an association. We associate with something outside of us and say, that thing out there, this community, this group, this other thing, I am like that thing. That's me. Okay, I'm within that. So there's just an association we make that's given to us that becomes our identity. Identity is something that isn't just something we claim as our own and say, that's me. It's actually also something that we are given. Our culture doesn't really understand this and instead wants to let everyone, even little children, decide who and what they are or will be. And that is not how we are made to function. Children come into the world looking for adults and older people around them to say to them who they are, to give them that identity. So, gospel identity, if we add that word in, then, well, that's really helpful, because if we think about identity as it's something that is given and that we decide on, well, there's so many options out there. It's overwhelming how many options that we could choose from. Am I this thing? Am I that thing? Am I part of this group? One of the ways that I try to find identity is just a part of my story. As I look at growing up, one of the things I was told is, oh, good job. You were smart there. That was a smart thing to do. You did a good job on that test. So being smart was an identity. I thought, if I can be a smart person, then that's good. Another one was, be a good boy, do the right thing, don't be bad. So being the good boy became something, right? To be the one at work who is getting the praise and who's getting accepted. Another one was being this person who is going to be pleasing to other people and not rough up anything. Being a performer, showing that I can achieve results. All of these things are, in one shape or another, good. But the question is being a performer, being a good boy, are those really the core of who I am and who I'm meant to be? A Christian from past times, Soren Kierkegaard, once said, we come into the world and we look for a criterion. A man who says and looks out on his cattle and says, that's my criterion. Well, that would be very low criterion, right? Somebody who says, no, I'm looking above. I'm looking at the government and what they tell me I should be. I'm saying, the ideal citizen, that's my criterion. It's a little better. But Kierkegaard said there's a higher criteria out there. Gospel identity is about showing us, here is the most core fundamental identity about who you are and telling us this is what you need to receive. This is who you need to be most. And I'm a big fan of old stories. The Jungle Book is one of those stories that I grew up watching on TV. And the Jungle Book, you got Mowgli, the little kid, and he's in the jungle and he's got his jungle friends, right, who are showing him the ways, the law of the jungle. And you kind of can see him kind of comparing himself to each one, right? Is he a panther? Is he a bear? Is he a tiger? What is he? Is he a wolf? He grew up with the wolves. Is that what he is? At the end of the story, spoiler alert, right? But he ends up being introduced into human society and he realizes, no, this is who I am. I think in the same way, as I've said, we come into the world, we're looking for someone to tell us who we are. Parents, if you have kids or if you're in the life of a child, be really attentive to what you're telling children and because they're looking to know, who am I? What is the model you are showing them? What are you saying? This is who you should be. If you ask that of God, right? Who does God say we should be? What is the model for us? Does he have some model in mind? The answer is yes, he does. And that model is himself. He has called us not to be like some other human being, not to be like some other animal in the world, some other creature he's made. He has actually called us to be like him, to come up into his life, to look at him and follow him and learn from him, to apprentice ourselves to him and become like him, sons and daughters of God. That's what being a child of God is really about. That is the identity that we are called to most of all. Most fundamentally, we are children of God. That's what we're called to embrace. And what does that mean? What is the characteristic of being a child of God? Well, at the end of the day, the most important thing about being a child and receiving the identity is that we are dependent on him, that we are not in control. We depend upon our Father to provide for us, to lead us, to love us, to show us the way of a full and flourishing life. That's what being a child of God means. And gospel identity is the proclamation that God has come into the world through his son Jesus, and he said, I am the way, truth, and the life. And if you want to become what you were meant to be, my son and daughter, look to Jesus. He shows you the way. Apprentice yourself to Jesus and follow him. Brothers and sisters, I hope this has been helpful to you. Stay tuned. We'll be looking at more gospel identities going forward. Thanks a lot.